independent, it's really important that I consult with my community. So today is about an invitation to all the community to come together and to set the direction for the future. So for the medium, short and long term. So that's the main reason. And it's also to give me as a Member of Parliament a chance to actually report back to my community on what I've been doing in the first 2 years of being the Member of Parliament.
People come for all sorts of reasons, there's no doubt about that. And they've all got a whole range of experiences and things that they're drawing on.
It's something about the collective power that we can all see, that there are 200 other people here talking about issues that affect us, that we have something in common with the people down the road, that we're going to set our own agenda, I think is actually a very powerful, important thing. And that's why summits like this are so incredibly important.
So far, there's a lot of talented people in this part of the world that are very passionate and committed to community and furthering the area, to see it prosper and develop.
As I was walking around this morning, I have this most amazing sense of the power of community, the skills of the community, the knowledge that they've got, and that you bring them together and how well people work together. But they've got such care for doing what's best. So we're in really good hands. We had all age groups, we've had people right across the electorate coming together, and then they're working together to say, well, here's what's best for us, but we know it's going to be what's best for Australia. So I had this enormous sense of gratitude and humility and confidence.
Working in London and having a great time, but I was starting to miss my family and blue skies and things like that. So you can have a international IT career from your spare room in Wangaratta, but what you find is that after a little while you're sort of out of sight and out of mind, and the challenge is then how do you keep stimulating your career and looking for new opportunities, because if you're not face to face, there's a challenge there in sort of being at the forefront.
Now you've been here all of today, involved in a couple of the groups, but most recently the arts group.
Yes, yeah. That's right, and can I just say in this process, I think from starting to explore the cultural economy and talking to more artists, we have a thriving, vibrant arts scene in Indi. There were 20 people in the arts group today, and in the multiple conversations I've had beforehand. When they talk about what they want Indi Arts to look like, they're not talking about, oh, we want more shows, we want some international artists to come so that we can watch them from our hometown. What they're really talking about all the time is we want to participate, we want to tell our own stories, we want to express ourselves, we want to connect as a community, and that to me is really exciting. And I also think, I'm not sure if our policymakers understand that there's this real need to feel that they belong through art and that they connect through art. There's all these tiny little, in the big picture they're quite small, and there's other larger places like Hothouse Theatre and the Wangaratta Jazz Festival, but it's spread all over Indi, and we've talked about a way like an online directory or a database where everybody could see who's doing what groups they could join, what classes they could do, what events they could go to today, what concerts, what art gallery.
Yeah, so the Barrow. So it might not be widely known to many in the room, the Barrow, but it started today, and it's a reenactment of something that happened 80 years ago in Beechworth, where one bloke in a pub said to his mate, I bet you can't push me in a barrow from Beechworth to the top of Mount Buffalo. So the reenactment of that event started today. And so there are 10 teams. And really what it's about is, it's about an idea that a couple of guys had, so friends of mine, and it was really about guys of my age who are easily become isolated. They only decided 6 months ago to even run it. They're all very capable men, and they've all got a lot of skills, and they're pretty much all come from our region and gone away and had a career and come back to start families. And they've got skills that meant that they could pull together all of this stuff in next to no time in their spare time. And my biggest challenge is how do we transfer that know-how onto the younger generation who have the ideas but don't have the know-how or the experience yet.
Or the networks.
And the networks. And really simply what I think it's about is an educational journey to take a young person from expecting to be a job seeker when they leave school to expecting to be a job creator. And I simply think that's the cultural shift that's required for us to move from inventiveness to actually thrive. And there's two things. Start early, and it's got to be experiential. So you don't become an elite athlete by doing a course. It's got to be experiential. So they start at grade 5. So one of the pilot programs that we've brought to Australia and that we're running is part of this Scottish model called this Social Enterprise Academy. You can look that up on online. Is starting to run social enterprise programs in schools. And there's already 2 10-year-old boys in Beechworth who in 3 weeks have started a business.
You started very young in your leadership through your participation in organisations such as Oz Green and the coalition,
Youth Climate Coalition.
Youth Climate Coalition. What were the drivers for that? What was?
There were a couple of key drivers. The first was having a love for the environment that we have here in Indi. You know, we have some of the best places, I think, in Australia as well as the world. Like, you only have to go to Falls Creek on a snowy day and go out for a little cross-country ski or go for a hike along the Razorback in the middle of summer to realise that, wow, you know, this place is awesome. It's the same across the entire electorate, whether it's, you know, a farming landscape or some of the forested landscapes we've got down near Marysville. Like, this electorate and this region that we live in is absolutely beautiful. And so it was about thinking how can we sustain this environment, how can we protect it, and particularly how do we respond to big issues like climate change, which will have a big impact on our local environments. How can we start to tackle these issues? The other aspect was what I saw being done elsewhere. And so I got to go and live in the UK and did a little bit of travel around Europe and saw the way that they did things only slightly differently to us here in Australia, but which had a big impact in terms of our natural environment and the resources that we use. And a couple of those key things were about our planning for our towns. So I noticed that within our towns and our communities, we lived in high density. And I started asking people over there, well, why do we do that? And the key reason why that they said was firstly to have a bit of recreational area. Now we've got plenty of that in Indi, but mainly to protect the valuable farming land on the outskirts of our communities. And I went, that just makes so much sense. Why don't we do that back home? Why are we sprawling our cities and our regional towns right across our landscape and not building more high density? The second example was high-speed rail. So I took the high-speed train from London to Paris and went, wow, this gets me from London to Paris quicker than I can get from Wodonga to Melbourne. and we started going, why? Why don't we have this back in Australia? I mean, maybe not necessarily the same speeds, but why don't we have transportation which actually connects our rural areas and our regional areas to our major cities, so that not only we can go there for work opportunities, but cultural opportunities as well.
But I actually want to thank you for coming, because truly the world is designed and made up by the people who turn up. And you've all turned up today to this really historic occasion. And I think in 50 years' time, when we've had the 22nd Indi Summit, and we look back on the records of this one, we're just going to say, whoa, what an amazing foundation we laid for the future of our community.